Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Katie Shern and I am a Senior Research Fellow in the Department for Nursing and Midwifery at Sheffield Hallam University. Today I'm going to talk about a programme of participatory action research that I carried out in 2019 alongside colleagues from Sheffield Hallam University and Doncaster Metropolitan Borough Council, and very importantly some students from XP School in Doncaster. Doncaster Metropolitan Borough Council wanted to deliver services which are truly health promoting, and such services might be rooted in something called the capabilities approach. Now this is an approach which looks at whether or not people are able to live lives that they truly value. So not just whether they can earn money or that they're healthy, but that they are able to pursue things that really are important. I mean, we know what's really important to people. Then we can design public services to actually enrich their lives rather than just putting a sticking plaster over things when they go wrong. So what's really important when you want to design services that promote people's ability to thrive, particularly young people, is that you actually include them in that research and you include them at those very early stages of designing the approach. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that they have a right to be involved in the design of services that are for them, but also that by having them involved, it's more likely that the services are the kind of things that they actually want to engage with and provide effective solutions which can really help them to live those lives that they choose to value. We included a number of young people therefore in the work and they wanted to get involved to help others, to make an impact and create changes, and also because they had some specific concerns with the way some of the services were currently being run. Of course, these kinds of things are really important to any kind of service that interacts with young people and are in line with the NHS current guidelines that suggest that users should be involved in the design and delivery of service. So when it comes to participatory action research, the really important thing is that you don't start with any particular assumptions as to what people are going to want to talk about or what people want to really research into. And in fact, you actually spend time with the group trying to form a group and allow people to start to develop their ideas and to tackle some of those quite abstract concepts about what it is to flourish or what it is to thrive and what health really means. And so the first stage of the work that we did with young people was to build their capacity. And this was so that we could enable equal participation, we could get a sense of trust between the group of young people, and we could also build their research knowledge. But the thing that we weren't expecting was that it would also build our capability and capacity as a researcher to understand which kind of techniques and which kind of work would work with those young people in the project. Now at this point we had recruited 16 young people aged between 13 and 16, all different genders, to take part in the research. And because of that they were really different, they came from different backgrounds. They weren't already a social group that already knew each other. And so we had to spend this time building up their ability to participate as equal participants in the work. And to do that, we used a range of elicitation techniques. And these are just a fancy word for ensuring that we can get the information that's inside of people's heads, the thoughts, the feelings, emotions, but we can get at it through a variety of different ways, because some people don't like to just talk. Some people use their hands to tell us information, or they would tell somebody else, but not necessarily in a big group. So we use different techniques, including building blocks, using Play-Doh, using extracts from newspapers, actually moving and having stories told to each other in order to get at some of those personal experiences. And this meant that by the end of that first phase, we really felt that young people had the capability and the capacity and to form those trusted relationships in order to be able to move on to the next. So the next phase of the work was a phase which was much more about gathering some research findings and really understanding what people in this town chose to value. But we didn't just want to include those 16 young people that were working with us as co-researchers. We wanted them to actually go out and interview their peers and their siblings to find out what was important to them too. And so that was an excellent phase where they found out new information or they enriched their own ideas about what was important. And not only did they get a wealth of information, they also understood therefore that they were the holders of that information and they had a responsibility to share that with the service designers and with the commissioner. And so they really took on a new role within the project, which was much more on an equal footing with the researchers. And then the third phase of the project was where we had the young people work together with the commissioners and practitioners, so school nurses and wellbeing practitioners who deliver services to young people, to share their ideas and to work together to think about how services could evolve in order to support people to really thrive and not just do those sticking plasters over things when they go wrong. And so this was a day-long activity where the groups came together and we shared information via workshops, worksheets, moving around the room, and all sorts of different things to help people to come together on an equal footing. And because those young people had spent so much time with the researchers previously and had that responsibility of information from their peers and their siblings, we found that they were really able to participate on an equal footing with the service practitioners and commissioners. So what did we actually come up with? Well, the work that the young people did culminated in a capability framework that was really pertinent and specific to what the young people in Doncaster felt were important to help them live those lives that they would value. And they came under several themes. So the people and relationships that they need, those places and spaces and time for themselves and opportunities with that, not importantly, that those opportunities are there, but also that they can actually get to them. The learning and skills that they need, that are the academic skills, as well as those softer social and practical skills for actually getting on in life. That the freedoms and rights and responsibilities, that they're actually able to participate and speak up on a regular basis about things that matter to them and affect them, and that they're able to access support for their health and well-being. And whilst this work was really pertinent to Doncaster and the details and the ideas that they came up with were really specific to that place, actually it was interesting the similarities between the ideas and the things that were important to these young people and some of the big ideas out there like the Equalities and Human Rights Commission and how that corresponds to young people's ability to thrive. And of course, like any good qualitative research, the real richness comes in the words and the ways in which people express themselves. And so I'm not going to read out all of these quotes right now, but you can pause the video in order to just have a little read over what some of the things the young people said that were important to them. So what does this actually mean for Doncaster in terms of the council and what they can provide? Well, of course, some of the things that the young people wanted and needed were beyond the scope of any one agency within the council to actually deliver. And so it's really important that the relevant agencies come together to be able to work to provide meaningful investments. For example, thinking about the public transport system and how the buses can get young people to events and activities that they can afford and that welcome them and accept them for who they are. That when young people do need to access services more specifically, that those services don't just try to patch them up and make things better, but that they focus on the enabling factors, things that will help them to learn and to develop and thrive, so that they're better able to cope and better able to determine a life that's important to them in the future. So this means focusing on those enabling factors and perhaps thinking about ideas such as social prescribing for young people, where they can truly go and build those skills and build those networks that will help them sustain themselves in the future. And finally, it showed the value of being able to listen directly to those young people. It was striking that the practitioners in the workshop said that despite spending all day with their young people, speaking to them all day, they don't necessarily meaningfully engage with what's important to those young people within those sessions. And so trying to find any means possible to include young people's voices in the design and delivery of services as Doncaster moves forward is critical to be able to uphold this piece of work. And what did we learn as a research team? Well, we were pleased that actually the investment that we made in time and the amount of work we did to ensure there was flexibility in the process meant that the young people could really engage in a way that was appropriate and suitable for them, even though it was quite tricky for us to keep up with that all of the time. And they did feel like partners in the process. And this was all underpinned by the fact that there were shared values from the commissioner through to the research team, through to the school and the young people themselves who wanted to make this. Thank you for listening. You can find out more via my staff profile.